Alright, this video is for the class Hands-on Fun with Rational Numbers that I teach on outschool.com. This is worksheet 9-1-9, and it's where we kind of make our place value calculator. We don't need a calculator, we can make our own. Alright, and if you are in this class, I'm going to throw the answers up here in a second so that you can grade your worksheet. If you're not in this class but you would like to take it, if you look in the description, I always put a link to the video, to the classroom, and then you can take the class. So let me put the answers up here real quick. So I'm going to pause, throw the answers up here, and we'll get started. Alright, so as you can see, these are the answers, and I'll go ahead and fill in some zeros in for this column. Okay, so you guys can see how it moves a little bit better. And go ahead and pause, grade your work. I didn't answer the questions on the bottom because we're going to discuss those at the end of the video. So go ahead and do that. And I'm going to change my view so that I'm closer. We're going to do a couple of these, establish the pattern, use the pattern for the last two. So if you haven't clicked for pause, do it now because I'm about ready to start. Okay, so the first one, 1 times anything is the number. So the answer is just 0.02 because it's times 1, right? So I just put that in. This is my decimal. I'm going to put a decimal down here because it looks really weird to me. All right, so this next one, if I were to take 0.02 and times it by 10, my first line would be 0, 0. Underneath my 1, my next line would be 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 0 is 0. Add going down and put in my 2 decimal places. So I have point, which I'm going to make my point more dramatic, 2, 0. Okay? Now one more, and then I want to establish a pattern. So 0 times 2 is 0, 0, 0. Get underneath, lined up underneath this 0, and it's going to be 0, 0, 0. Now you line up underneath the 1, it's going to be 2, 0, 0. Add. Put my 2 decimal places in, and my answer is 2.00. Now I've established this pattern. Look at this 2. It's moving a decimal place each one. And that corresponds with the amount of zeros. When I multiplied by 10, I moved it 1 decimal point, made it 0.2. When I multiplied by 100, I moved it 2 decimal places, making it 2.0. So every time I multiply by a number, I'm moving that decimal point, and that makes sense because decimals, their place value are a factor of 10, and I'm multiplying by a factor of 10, so I'm going to be moving the decimal places because they kind of cancel out. All right, so for this one, if I have 3 zeros, I'm moving the decimal point 3 places. So 1, 2, 3, got to add a 0, so now, don't need these front zeros, my answer is 20, and I could put 0.00 if I want. In this one, I'm multiplying by 4 zeros, so I'm moving it 4 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't need these ones in the front, so it's 200.00. And look, that makes sense. In this one, I was multiplying by 2 zeros. Look at this. I have 2 rows of just none. That's what multiplying by factors of 10 does. It pushes my number that isn't 1 over the amount of zeros. All right, so here's my calculator that I can use as we divide zeros. So what happens to the place value each time you move? It gets pushed as far out as the amount of zeros I'm multiplying by. Do you see any patterns with the math? Well, I would put something along the lines of if I multiply by a factor of 10, I'm moving the decimal, the amount of zeros in that factor. So if I'm multiplying by 100, I'm moving the decimal 2 places because there are 2 zeros in that factor. Okay, so something along those lines. written in your own words will work. All right, and keep a hold of this because we're going to use this when we get into dividing decimals. We're going to need this fraction calculator we made. Okay, all right, I'll see you guys in the next class.